Hey, what's going on, everybody? Jacob here. Today's video is gonna be a somewhat in-depth guide on tanking in general, as far as what you need to look forward to in gear. I'm gonna list you at least 5 sets of gear that I think you should eventually get. 4 sets that I think you should get no matter what, in the fifth piece set. And the fifth set of gear is kind of optional. And then I'll go over 3 additional sets that I think everybody can get easily. If they want to get into tanking, or if they're new to the game and stuff like that, these other 3 sets are going to be a lot better to get, a lot easier to get, because you're going to have 2 crafted sets in the third piece. And the third piece set is going to be extremely cheap to get on both console and PC. So without further ado, let's go right into gear. So the first set of gear you're going to get is, well, hold on, before we go into gear, I'll just hover over this. I'm only going to be telling you what the 5-piece set does. I'm not going to go over the 4-piece, 3-piece, and 2-piece set. And the reason why is because when you really get down to tanking and you're trying to like min-max and try and set up for score pushes and try and be an asset to your team, 90% of the time, you're only really going to be concerned about the 5th-piece set. Such as like Powerful Assault, Alkosh. The prime example is Alkosh, and we'll get into it on the next set. But the first set, Ebon. And then for every set that I list, I'll put in the description on where you can find it. If it's a craftable set, I'll definitely put in everywhere you can craft it. So EP side, AD side, and DC side. So, Ebon. What it does is it increases your max health by 1,000 for you and up to 11 other members within 28 meters of you. Pretty self-explanatory, just gives you 1,000 health to other people. And then the purple version of this, which I know some people starting out tanking or just want to learn how to tank all that stuff, like new players, and then even some existing players are not going to have enough to gold Ebon out, and that's fine. So you can just keep it purple. That's fine. The difference between purple and gold is, I think, right about 100, if not like, it's anywhere from, I think it's like anywhere from 50 to 100 extra health. So that's why I just said it gives you 1,000 max health. Anyways, that's your first set, Ebon. Second set is going to be Alkosh. Now, we had mentioned that we don't care. We're not going to talk about the 4-piece, 3-piece, and 2-piece set. And this is and that when you're tanking, it mainly consists on what the 5-piece set is. And this is one of those sets that it really doesn't matter too much what your 2-piece through 4-piece set is on it, on your on a full 5-piece set. So basically, when you activate a synergy, which are Liquid Lightning, Orbs, Purge, Blood Altar, the Seeds from Warden, shit like that. So when you activate a synergy, you send a shockwave from your position that deals so much damage, physical damage, and an additional X amount of physical damage over 10 seconds. In addition to that, it reduces the physical and spell resistance of any enemy hit by 2,900 for 10 seconds. That last sentence is why a lot of tanks wear Alkosh. Because it's helping lower the resistance of the enemy or enemies to help DPS the boss, and the adds better. Just lowers the resistance. Now, if I remember right, and a lot of stuff is going off of memory, but if I remember right, basic bosses and stuff like that have a max resistance cap of like 18,000 or something like that. And this is just to kind of help lower that down. Well, this is and again, this is in medium armor, and I forgot to tell you, Ebon comes in heavy. You can get sword and board Ebon, but that's pretty rare. I've been playing this game for like 4 years. I've only seen one. No, I've seen two one-handed weapons, and I've never seen a shield. Some people probably seen shields all the time, but I've just never seen it. And I've farmed Ebon probably on 4 or 5 different characters. Jewelry's pretty easy to get. Get it on the first boss. Ebon, jewelry, get it on the first boss on Vet. And sword and board, if you get lucky enough to do that, that'd be cool. But if not, I would just worry about getting jewelry and then your body pieces for Ebon. As far as Alkosh, you want to be getting jewelry and your weapons. And the third set is going to be Dragon. Basically what this does is it reduces the cost of your ultimate abilities by 15%. It's a nice little set. I still use it sometimes when I off tank and trials. I'll usually throw on Alkosh and this or Alkosh and another set. But this is a really good set to use. Just kind of helps pump out Woolhorn or just like a Magna for like oh crap moments and stuff like that. But like for Woolhorn, it's nice to have that consistency of it. And again, you'll want to get on Dragon. It's a little bit expensive to get the at least armor pieces. The jewelry I don't believe is that expensive, but the sword and board and the lightning staff are pretty expensive. So definitely keep an eye out for that. You can go and farm this set. It's an open world set that you can get. Next set's going to be Torugs Pact, which is a crafted set. And the 5-piece, here's what it does. It decreases weapon enchant cooldown and increases potency by 30%. So basically, what this means, let me just I have a 5-piece Torugs Pact on right now. As you can see, the Crusher enchant is at 2740. So with Torugs, it increases that Crusher enchant. So when we get into enchants for your weapons and stuff like that, we'll go over this a little bit more. But as you can see, we're at 2740. That you're gonna lower that resistance. Now with just no Torugs Pact and just Infused Crusher, you're sitting at 2108. With Torugs, you're sitting at 2740. Alright. So those are your 4-piece sets. Now for your other set, your 5th-piece set, or your 5th-piece set of gear that I'd like all tanks to at least have access to would probably be Powerful Assault. It's a medium set. Oh, excuse me. Torugs, you can craft it in anything, medium or heavy, probably heavy. And then Dragon comes in heavy. PA, which is Powerful Assault, comes in medium armor, and it's mainly on the 5th-piece set. When you when you cast an assault ability, you increase the weapon and spell damage of up to 4 friendly targets within 10 meters by 157 for 15 seconds. Well, of course, I don't have it gold. I'm still new to PC, still trying to level up clothing, still trying to do all that stuff to kind of gold everything out. So you'll probably see me with purple gear for quite a while. Now here's your assault tree, and you activate any of these abilities, and that will proc Powerful Assault. So if you pop Rapids, bam, it's coming off. A Powerful Assault's coming. Echoing Vigor is the biggest thing that a lot of people do, or they'll pop Vigor or something like that. 90% of the time you'll see most tanks popping Vigor to consistently proc PA. The reason why is mainly because it's like the cheapest one here. Let's see. Rapids is 7k, Vigor's 3k, Cop Shot's 32, and the Magic is 4k. You're not going to be able to pop this every few seconds. So again, keep in mind when you do activate this, this is going to last for 15 seconds. Vigor only lasts for 5. So just keep that in mind, and sometimes it just doesn't. Sometimes it goes to you and sometimes it don't. As you can see, this is PA right here. That's what PA looks like. Powerful Assault. Those are the 5 sets of gear that every tank should at least consider getting. The 5th piece set is totally optional. Powerful Assault. Once you start getting into min-maxing, pushing for score and trials and stuff like that, you'll definitely want to consider getting PA. As far as like dungeons and trials, this is those 4 other sets you can definitely use and it works, and they all work really well in all dungeons, even on hard mode dungeons. If you're just now starting out tanking, these are the sets I consider that you should wear, that I really think that most tanks should wear starting out tanking when you go to farm for Ebon, Dragon, stuff like that. Or at least Ebon if you're starting out tanking. Torugs pack, it's a good one. You can put it on your entire body and you'll be fine. It's extremely easy to make. Costs about 160 rubinite to make one piece. You could probably get into a guild and somebody will help you make it, or at least make it for you for free. What I consider as far as we'll get into enchants in a second, but as far as the other set goes, the second set is I call it potato set. What it does is it reduces the cost of your ultimate abilities by 10%. It's just it works really nice. A lot of times I'll pair this set with Dragon set and Bloodspawn and just get my ulti back so quick, and it's really nice to have that. So if you're struggling in a dungeon or whatnot, throw on the potato set and throw on Dragon, and you reduce your ultimate cost by 25%. It's really nice. And I'll go back to Dragon so you can see. 15%. 15 plus 10% is obviously 25%. Anyways, this is a set, and this is a set I was talking about earlier as far as in traders. This is anywhere on PC. This is anywhere from like 100 gold. I've seen it go as low as 100 gold for rings. And I've seen the necklace go as high as 5k. And the rings I've seen go as high as 5k as well. So you're looking at anywhere from 100 gold to 5k. And if you use the TTC, which will be in the description below, you can just click that site and type in a ring of potatoes or whatever. Obviously you have to type it out what it says, and then you can look it up. Anyways, you click that site, click on what you're looking for, and it'll tell you where you can find this set, what location and what trader, and how much it was going for, and when the last time somebody's seen it. So it's a really good site. It's an awesome site. So definitely use that when you're going to go look for these pieces. They're extremely cheap, and they are just a nice set to have. Even if you're solo tanking that DSA, this set with Dragon is just amazing. Like I've done it numerous times. I did it at 160 CP. I did Dragon and potatoes with it and Histmarch, which we'll get into that. But I did this setup here with the Bloodspawn, obviously. But I did this setup and it was just awesome. I was just sitting there popping shield ultis pretty much every 30 to 40 seconds. Alright, so your next set is a crafted set. It's called Histmarch. And again, I'll put the description down below on where you can find these sets. Histmarch is just another great set when you're low CP, or if you're not sure on what to put here. What I suggest is you can put like a 2-piece set of either magic recovery or physical recovery. Once we get into the passives and stuff like that, you'll see why I don't really mention spell resistance, because DKs have natural spell resistance in their passives. But I do suggest, if you do start out tanking, that you do double sword and board. And if you're new to the game, definitely go sword and board, double sword and board. Then once you get a little bit more comfortable, I would consider swapping sword and board on your front bar, and then on your back bar go lightning bar, on your back bar go lightning staff. Make sure it's infused. All right, so let's go into monster sets now, and I'll go over 2 different monster sets that I consider to be the best, and then I'll kind of hit on some other ones. So the 2 that I consider the best would be obviously Bloodspawn. I'll just pull this up so they're next to each other. Bloodspawn and Earthgore. Bloodspawn you get from Spindle Clutch 2. Earthgore, if I remember right, you get from Bloodroot Forge. You do have to do them on vet, and you will get a monster head piece once you complete the final boss. So Bloodspawn, you'll look at the 2-piece set. That's really what we aim for. You're always looking at the last piece set to see if it really kind of either helps the group in a way, helps you and the group, basically. So when you take damage, you have a 6% chance to generate 14 ultimate and increase your physical and spell resistance by 6k. For 6 seconds, this effect can occur once every 6 seconds. Now, basically what that means, when you take damage, you have a percentage while you're taking damage to generate 14 ultimate and get a little defensive boost. That's basically what it means. It's a really good set, and you really can't go with running Bloodspawn. The other set to my right is Earthgore. When you heal a friendly target that is under 50% health, you conjure a pool of quenching blood underneath them, which soaks up an enemy placed effect instantly and heals all friendly targets in the area for X amount of health over 6 seconds. The effect can occur once every 35 seconds. Basically, what happens is if you're taking damage, you as yourself, like say you as a tank, you're taking damage. You get below 50% health, you use a heal on yourself, Earthgore will more than likely proc if it's not on its downtime. And once it procs, you'll basically get healed for X amount of health within a few seconds. And it's just ridiculous how often it procs when you're taking a lot of damage and you constantly have a heal going and whatnot. These 2 sets, I really think that they're probably some of the best. The best 2 sets that you could really get as a tank. One, because Earthgore basically saves lives in trials and in dungeons. And then Bloodspawn is just like an awesome set in general when you're doing certain trials that you don't really need Earthgore for. It's just a really good set that you can just sit there, take some damage, get your resistance up, and just sit there and pop horns over and over again. Now some honorary mentions. Let me see if I have any of them in my bank, since I don't think I have any in here. Yes, you can be of service. Alright, so we're gonna go here. Let's look right quick. Okay, so here's some right here. Thorvigans, in some trials like Sanctum or something like that, where they have tons and tons of ads, you could probably throw this on and be fine. But at that point, I'd probably either throw on Earthgore or just Bloodspawn. Probably just Earthgore, just kind of help the group out. So basically what Thorvikins does is when a nearby enemy damages you, you summon a growing pool. Basically, it's this green AoE that spawns underneath your person, and what it does is it affects the enemies that are in it with minor maim and minor defile. So it reduces their damage done and reduces the healing received by 15%. And it says the effect can occur every 8 seconds, but I'm telling you right now, every time I use this, as soon as it's done proccing, it's gonna proc again. So you can have this up like consistently over and over and over again. Like it's absolutely crazy how much that spawn like procs. It's just really great, and you're mainly looking at minor maim, just reducing their damage done. That in general is just amazing because when you go to stack all these adds together and stuff like that, you're affecting all of them with minor maim. That way you don't have to, because you're not going to be able to low slash every single ad every single time. So wearing this set is not a bad choice either. If that's all you got, you know what I mean. Another good one, which this is actually a pretty good set for both 1-piece and 2-piece. It adds physical and spell resistance on just wearing 1 piece, which is really nice. So basically what happens when you take damage, you have a 50% chance to summon a shadow orb for 10 seconds. It increases the physical and spell resistance of you and your allies within 8 meters by 37, 35. This effect can occur once every 10 seconds. And I'm going to tell you right now that this spawns a ridiculous amount too. And it's a huge blue orb that's going to pop up and it'll have like a blue little circle. And you'll see it. I don't have a full set yet or else I would show you. But it's just a really cool set to kind of help out if people are taking a lot of damage or if they just don't have that much resistance. So it's a pretty cool set to have. Let's see if I have Chuden or something like that. There we go. Here's Mighty Chuden. Mighty Chuden's not a bad one either. I don't really consider this one, but it is what it is. If you feel like you need it, go for it. So basically what this one does is the 1-piece set is actually pretty good too. Increases your spell and physical resistance by 2800. The 2-piece set, the extra max health, that's actually pretty cool. And then the other part is you gain Major Ward and Major Resolve at all times, increasing your physical and spell resistance by 5280. Now, you already have one skill, Hardened Armor, which we'll go over the skills, that gives you Major Resolve and Major Ward for 17 seconds. Balance, which is Mage Guild skill, gives you Major Ward and Major Resolve for 27 seconds. So, I don't feel that Mighty Chuden is that great to have. Yeah, you can pump up your physical and spell resistance, but honestly, you already get Major Ward and Major Resolve. So, if you're bad at keeping up Major Resolve and your majors, I'll just say that. If you're bad at keeping up your 2 majors, I would consider running Mighty. But if you're decent at keeping up your majors, then you really won't need Mighty. Now another set that's actually just kind of fun to run and whatnot, I would say Malubeth. And the only reason why it used to be good last patch, I haven't used it this patch. Basically what happens, gives you a little bit extra health on your ×1, and then your ×2 item set. When you take damage, you have a 6% chance to create a beam that steals so much health over 4 seconds from the person that's attacking you. So while the beam's on, while the beam's going, you get major vitality, increasing your healing received by 30%. If the beam breaks, if the enemy moves further than 8 meters away, the effect can occur once every 6 seconds. So basically, if they move, if you or the enemy moves 8 meters away, the beam's gonna break, and then you'll lose the heal. It's not bad. Like I was using it for Fang Lair and Scale Crawler because we would do 3 DPS, and I would be the only tank. And stuff like that, and it's not a bad set. It's really not that bad, and it's kind of fun to kind of mess around with it. I'm gonna probably get crucified for saying this, but I don't really I don't really care. I almost curse pretty bad, but I don't care. This is still like a pretty decent set if you're new at tanking or anything like that. definitely check out Engine Guardian. Basically, what it does when you use any ability, you have a 10% chance to summon a dwarven automation, which is basically like a dwarven sphere, and it restores at least 1k health, stamina, or magicka every 0.5 seconds for 6.5 seconds. It's pretty crazy how consistent this procs and how many people don't use it. It's a pretty good set. It's not that bad. A lot of people don't like people using it because it was used so much in the past and whatever, but it's actually not bad. Like I'm telling you right now, if you have your stamina, if you have the proc for stamina, you're almost not running out. If you have a proc for magicka, like you're almost not running out either. If you have it stacked for health, like it's crazy on top of your major and minor vitality, on top of like say you have Green's Dragon Blood and Lingering Health Pots, and you have an Earth Gore, and then you have not Earth Gore, but say you have Lingering Pots and Green's Dragon Blood going, and then you have the Engine Guardian proc giving you health, like you're almost not gonna die unless you get like obviously hit by a one-shot mechanic, but yeah, I mean, like it's crazy of how much health comes. So those are my mentioning. Those are the ones that I'm gonna mention as far as tanking goes. Every other set, I'm not like too overly excited about or ever really use more than one time. So as far as that goes, that's as far as the sets go. Now what we're gonna get into. What we're going to get into now is going to be the traits. Let me take this banker away. Now, what we're going to get into now is going to be the traits that I consider to be good on your weapons, on your jewelry, and on your gear. Basically, I'll go over enchants. I'll go over enchants and traits. So. Monster sets, I'm gonna tell you right now, I kind of like sturdy on shoulders and infused on the helm, but you can go both sturdy. That's totally fine. I believe that it's more or less preference on the head and shoulders, and not so much, and not, I mean, kind of on the body too. But I think like a perfect setup would be, you know, sturdy infused or sturdy. The reason I say infused on your helm, because your big pieces that are going to give you the most resources is going to be your helm, your chest, and your legs. Now with that being said, your other ones such as your boots, your belts, and your gloves, and your shoulders are only going to give you, you know, around 300-400. Or, you know, just a single like max health, whatever. If you look on your chest piece, if it's infused, you're looking at 1,000, right? 1,000 in whatever you're putting on there, whether it's health, stamina, or magicka. As you can see here, I'm at 954, and that's with just a max health, and that's with sturdy. That's not infused. This isn't even gold. All right, let's put on. Do I have any? Is this infused? I think my legs are infused. Here's infused. So you got one, you got 1144, and then for non-gold, you're at 1116. Not much of a difference, but if you at least have infused, let's go to chest. So if you have infused from not infused, it's actually quite a bit. So just keep that in mind. So what I would consider best traits on your at least your armor would be infused helm, infused chest, infused legs, and then just go sturdy, shoulders, gloves, boots, and belt. And the reason why is because a lot of you guys are going to be new tanking and stuff like that. They're going to be holding block quite a bit. And so it's going to kind of help you out. It's going to help out your stam, and it still helps me out because there's a lot of these new dungeons, all these new trials and stuff like that. I hold block quite a bit because because when you do, you're learning the mechanics, and you're learning that you're learning to see what you can get away with as far as hold and block with. Plus, it's nice to have sturdy on these pieces because it's going to reduce the cost of your block by so much. I mean, it's nice that you're not using that much stam when you're just sitting there holding block. So that's why I consider going sturdy on 4 pieces at the very, very least. And like if you want to put all of them in sturdy, that's fine too. Like this right here, I feel is totally preference as far as like how many sturdy you want and how many infused you want. I really feel like it's really preference. I really think that you should have some sturdy pieces and some infused pieces, just to kind of help you get that a little bit extra health and that or even that little bit extra stam. So as far as traits go on jewelry, what I consider the best is probably just gonna be like if you already have like a pretty decent stat pool with your magicka health and stam, or at least with your health and stam, I would really just consider going either robust or healthy. Either one. With setting up your character, which I'll get into, I'll probably discuss this a little bit more, but later on. But when setting up your character, what you really want to do is you want to throw all your gear on, eat your food, and then see where your points are at, and then adjust your attribute points. That way you already have the gear that you're going to be running for a while. And then you can tweak your attribute points. And then if you need just that little bit more and this and that, then you can kind of adjust either your jewelry or your enchants. But anyways, I do like robust for the extra max stam. It's because a lot of times, like where I feel comfortable in health is anywhere from 33k to 35k, even up to 37k with just your food buff. With Woolhorn and Ebon, if I'm wearing Ebon, 35k. I really like anywhere around 35k, give or take give or take 1,000. Without Ebon, anywhere from 33 to 35k, if up to 37k. When I have Ebon, if I don't have Ebon, and then I have Woolhorn, obviously I'm gonna be, so let's say I have Ebon, I'm gonna be sitting at around 34k. Then when I hit Horn, I'm probably gonna be sitting anywhere around 37, 38k health, and that's more than enough. If I'm at 35k right here with Ebon, when I hit a Horn, I'll be sitting at 40, 41k health. Something like that. So that's why I do like the robust traits in my jewelry. Now some mentions, some honorary mentions. Harmony is really good. Harmony increases damage, healing, resource restore, and damage to the strength of synergies you activate by 30%, almost at 30 seconds, but by 30%. So if you pop an orb, you're gonna get that much health back. You pop a blood altar, you're gonna get that much health back. Now in Cloud Rest, Veteran Cloud Rest +3, having at least 2 of these helps you out significantly. Like it's just amazing. Like when I run it, I run infused and then two harmony, and it's just amazing. Now my other excuse me. Now for my other trait that I'm gonna kind of throw in your face is infused. I really like infused as well, just kind of give you that extra boost in magic recovery if you do decide to enchant whatever. If you enchant magic recovery, if you enchant if you have magic recovery on there, if you have the increase pot, if you have infused that, it's going to increase it to like 8 seconds, 8 second cooldown. So those are the ones that I really kind of like. There is another trait that you can get. All right, so here's some honorary mention as far as jewelry traits go. Swift. Swift is a nice one. Basically what it does is increases your movement speed by so much percent. It's not bad, but I don't really feel like I need it ever. And there's another trait, I totally forget what it calls, I'm sorry. But there's another trait that increases your health, your magicka, and your stam. It increases all three of those stats. Now, I just don't feel like I need that. If you feel like you need that or you want to give it a shot, go for it. But I don't feel like I need it. But as far as what I consider to be best or whatever, that's totally on you. Honestly, but I'm going to give you what I like. I like 2 robust, 1 infused. That's just what I like. I just like having 2 robust and 1 infused, mainly for that extra bit of magic recovery. It's just really nice to have extra magic recovery sometimes. Now as far as stam recovery, I would never go stam recovery on your enchants. What I do suggest is either go magic recovery, shield play, which reduces the cost of your bash by so much and your cost of your block by so much. Or I would suggest going speed pot, which basically reduces the cooldown of potions below this item's level by 5 seconds. If you have an infused on this, it increases it to 8 seconds. Normal pot time is 45-second cooldown. If you have 3 of them, if you have 3 of these on there, about 30 seconds of cooldown for your pot. And then, of course, if you increase it and you put infuse on all 3 and you put the speed pot on all 3, you're looking at 8 seconds per jewelry piece to reduce that. So there's that. But those are my mentions. Those are what I consider. Just basically, a lot of this stuff has to do with preference. As far as weapon enchants, I believe that infused and the enchant is crusher on your weapons. Infuse with crusher on both bars. And we'll get into skills a little bit later as far as why we have crusher on both. Now, as far as enchant, or as far as traits and enchants, I really just don't see anything other than crusher. I mean, you could put weakening on your back bar. Let's see if I have a weakening. Here's what weakening does. Reduces target's weapon damage and spell damage by X amount for 5 seconds. I just prefer crusher enchant just to keep the resistance, the physical, well, just the resistance in general down. I like to keep the uptime on that going. So I would rather have my uptimes for crusher to be better than for them to be lower with this weakening enchant, if that makes sense. But as far as weapons, I really don't see anything other than infuse that you should use. Because if you're going to make your own weapons, infuse is the best way to go, and then just throw the crusher enchant on. What you could use if you really just don't care about trying to min-max your traits and stuff, you could throw on decisive. And decisive would be really cool because let's see if I have any decisive in here. Here's a decisive. When you gain ultimate, you have an 18% chance to gain 1 additional ultimate. So it's not bad, but you'd really want that infused just for that crusher uptime. Now, as far as shields go, I really like sturdy. I used to run infuse a lot, but it got to the point where I started using lightning staff back bar, and the reason why I stopped going infused is because when you go infused and add like a max health or something like that, let's say I'm sitting at 28k. Well, my food ran out, but say I'm sitting at 28k and I swap to my back bar, I'm losing out. So you look at this. I'm at 17, 465. I swap bars. I'm down to 16, 382 in stam. I would rather swap bars and keep the same health. That's why I don't put health enchants on my sword and my shield bar. So that talks about my enchants, my trait suggestions, on my gear, and stuff like that. So now what we're going to go into, we're going to go down the line as far as what skills to look forward to on unlocking and what you would actually use in some fights where you would use this. And we're going to be talking about only tanking. We're not going to be talking about DPSing. As you can see, I have some stuff open up for DPSing for like my weapon and stuff like that. And this is a little bit more advanced in some trials and stuff like that. So, and then plus this is all also for like solo play. When I go to solo play, I like to swap the DPS to kill stuff a lot quicker. Anyways, as far as tanking goes, you won't be unlocking standard or lava lip. You won't unlock this one. You will unlock this morph, which is engulfing flame. If you read the bottom of it, affected enemies take 10% more damage from all flame damage attacks. You will probably have Magicka characters or Magicka DPS, whatever, in your group as far as possible dungeons and trials. And they'll more than likely be using a flame staff. If you're running a dungeon and you only have stam, you can take this skill off. I do like this skill. Let me go to like a normal setup. Ebon Alkosh. So this is what my normal bar looks like for the most part. Engulfing is usually on my front bar just to kind of keep the uptime going, to help out my Magicka DPS. But if you have no Magicka DPS at all, and none of them are using flame staffs or anything like that, you could probably take off engulfing because it's not really doing anything. I mean, you're doing some flame damage and stuff like that, but you're mainly using this to help your DPS around you. And if they're not going to use flame staffs or flame abilities, then there's really no point to really even have it. But more than enough, you will be having this. A lot of the meta has flame staff, so you probably will use this a lot, about 90% of the time, if not 100%. Chains, you're gonna be wanting to get unrelenting grip. Excuse me. And the reason why you're gonna be using this is because it pulls in adds to you where you don't have to run up to them and puncture them. And you're only really going to be using this on adds that are range. So if you have a archer or a mage super far out of the group, you can either do one or two things. Taunt all the melee and stack on range, or pull the range on top of the melee. And more than enough, you're more than likely going to do both at the same time. Honestly, you're going to be stacking melee on top of range. They're going to stack the melee ads on top of the range ads, and then you're going to pull in the range ads that run away. Flames of Oblivion, you're not going to be using that. This is more for a DPS. You will be unlocking all these. Increase the damage if you're burning and poisonous. When you apply burning to an enemy, you restore 500 magicka. When you apply poison to an enemy, you restore 500 stamina. It can occur once every 5 seconds. And you're going to be reapplying this about every 5 seconds anyways. So it is kind of nice that they added that just recently in the coming patches. So it's nice to get a little bit magicka back when you actually use this ability. Warmth, when you deal direct damage with the Ardent Flame ability, you reduce the enemy's movement speed by 30% for 3 seconds. Again, this is a cone target, so when you do this, that is going to affect the majority of the enemies you hit it with. Increase the damage of your fiery breath, searing strike, and dragon knight standard abilities by 3%, and the duration for 2 seconds. That last part, and the duration. Fury Breath is this ability right here. Engulfing Flame is the morph of that ability. So that's why it's increased to 10 seconds. Increase the damage of your flame and poison area of effect abilities by 6%. Again, if you go to switch over to DPS, it is nice to have that one. You're not going to be using Dragon Leap as a tank. I mean, if you do use it, you'd probably use it on one trial, and the only trial I can think of is Vet 8A. You'd probably go to the center, have 4 DPS, go to the right side. You would jump up there, and then you can start chaining the adds. That is the only time I could really see using Dragon Leap. And for those of you guys that don't know what I'm talking about, you will later on once you get further down the road. And those of you guys who do know what I'm talking about, you're probably giggling or kind of like, what the hell are you even talking about? But yeah, that'd be like the only time I could see you using that. Spiked armor. Yes, you could probably unlock this and use this until you get balance, which is level 9 Mages Guild, or excuse me, level 8 Mages Guild. They do the exact same thing. The only difference is this one takes forever to get. Even on console, it takes forever. On PC, it doesn't take that long, but they both take a good amount of time. They do these 2 skills, balance. Excuse me, we'll just do this. Balance and hardened armor do the exact same thing. The only difference is spiked armor lasts 17 seconds, balance lasts 27 seconds. So it's really up to you which one you want to use. The only reason you use this ability, or one of these abilities, is to gain that major resolve and major ward. You proc it, you hit it, and then you just go back to doing your thing. This one you can hit every about 25 seconds or so, and this one you have to hit about every 15 to 17 seconds, you know, give or take, when you're actually going to hit it. Choking Talons, you will unlock this skill. What this one does is just kind of holds the adds in one spot and then applies minor maim to them. You can only hit so many enemies with this ability. I believe it's like 6 or so. So you're only going to be able to hit like about 6 enemies with this. So you're going to have to hit it more than once if there's more enemies. But it's mainly to do the minor maim a little bit. But if you have good DPS, it's only to keep them in one spot. If you have kind of bad DPS, it's to keep them in one spot and to apply the minor maim. Again, minor maim reduces the damage done by 15%. And that lasts 7 seconds. The Choking Talons that keeps them in one spot lasts for 4. So there's that. Green's Dragon Blood. This is probably your probably burst heal. It's just your only heal that I really use. It's a really good one. Certain instances I will use other heals, but this is my main one that I will almost always use and probably never take off my bar unless I get to the point, you know, running trials and stuff like that, and we're always in group. I'm always in group or something like that. Basically what this does, it's gonna when you activate this ability, you're gonna heal up to, or excuse me, you're gonna heal for 39% of your missing health, and this does crit. You can do a crit heal with this. You also gain major fortitude, major endurance, and minor vitality, which increases your health recovery or stamina recovery by 20%, and healing received by 8% for 23 seconds. If you can try and keep this up 100% of the time, you're doing pretty good. Reflective scale. If you start getting into like pushing a score and like VHoff or something like that, you could probably unlock this for the last boss if you're off tanking. Other than that, you don't really need the skill in any dungeon or trial. You don't really need it. Deep breath. You will use and unlock this this skill, and you will probably use the deep breath morph. Deep breath morph. Excuse me. And the reason why is the second paragraph. Any enemy hit that is casting is interrupted. So if you see somebody getting ready to charge up a heavy, like doing endless hail, or getting ready to shoot you with a orb or something like that, you'll see the ad or the enemy or the boss or something like that. They'll have like red lines or something like that going around their body, and if you hit this ability, deep breath, or bash them, it'll interrupt them. So if you use deep breath, it hits them in an area effect in 8-meter radius. So once you hit them, you interrupt them. They're going to be stunned for 2 seconds, and they're going to be set off balance for 5 seconds. And off balance with stam DPS really helps them out, because they are going to have their CP set up. Most of their CP is going to be set up here for Explorer. Increase the damage done against off balance enemies by 10%. So it's gonna help. It's gonna help your stam DPS quite a bit if you can consistently keep off balance up. And then we'll get into obviously blockade for off balance too. As far as passive abilities, you're looking at Iron Skin. Increase the amount of damage you block by 10%. That's awesome passive. While a draconic power ability is active, your healing received is increased by 12%. As long as you have this one going, you don't really need to use this if you have balance. So, as long as you have Green's Dragon Blood going, you're already going to get increased healing received by 12%. Increase your health recovery by 5% of each draconic power ability slotted. That's why I ended up moving this one to my front bar, mainly because it is nice, because I'm always on this front bar, and it is nice to just kind of be on your front bar and be able to heal and not have to swap bars back and forth to try and get a heal going. So the next one is increase your spell resistance by 3,300. Remember when I talked about earlier in the video with DKs already naturally have passive abilities with spell resistance? Well, this is why. So Earth and Heart. Magma. You'll definitely use this morph, not the other morph. The other one does poison damage, and it's just kind of doo-doo. Basically what this one does, you turn into basically like a rock around your person, and you'll just become stronger. Basically what happens is ignite molten lava in your veins, limiting incoming damage by 3% of your max health and dealing some bullshit damage, whatever. While active, nearby allies gain a damage shield for 100% of their max health for 9 seconds. So if you have somebody that's around 5 to 8 meters, when you activate this, you'll see like a small tiny orb about this small shoot at them and then put a shield around them. It says once you have this active, you can almost not die. Like some stuff that one shot you, yeah, if you have this pop, you more than likely won't die. It's a really good skill for oh crap moments. Stonefist, no. You won't ever really be using this. Igneous weapons, not really in trials, but in dungeons you could put this on to kind of help increase the damage for your group. So what this does, once you activate this, is a 28-meter radius. It lasts for 36 seconds. It's going to give allies around you major sorcery and major brutality, and that increases their spell damage and weapon damage by 20%. So it's just going to give them that extra boost of damage. Igneous Shields. The other morph is Fragmented Shields. I'm only going to do like some... I'm only going to touch on some other morphs. The other one is Fragmented Shields. All it does is increase the duration of major mending. Igneous Shields just gives you a little bit extra damage shield on yourself. So basically what this does, you activate this, granting a damage shield for you, nearby allies that absorb up to 2,900 damage. Your own damage shield absorbs 200 additional damage, which is actually kind of nice. And then you also gain major mending, increasing your healing done by 25% for 3 seconds. Keep in mind that they did change. If you activate Igneous Shields and then you get hit for an attack that does, 3 to 4k damage, your major mending will disappear. I don't know if they changed that back or not, but last patch it was like that. So a lot of us got in the habit of just hitting Igneous and then Green's Dragon Blood like almost immediately right after you. So you're going to hit Igneous and then Green's Dragon Blood like simultaneously. You're going to hit Igneous, boom. So 4 then 2, or LB and then Y. Or what is it? L2 and then triangle, whatever it is on console, on PS4. So you would just hit this one and then hit this one. I wouldn't do a light attack in between because you do have a chance of getting that Igneous Shield knocked off. As far as Petrify, you're not going to be using that, not in PvE, and you won't really be using Ash Cloud. They did change this morph to where you have it and it does do some healing, but it just costs so much and it's just kind of fucking useless. Increase the duration of your Earth and Heart abilities by 20%. That's really nice. When you cast an ultimate ability, you restore 55 health, 46 magicka, and 46 stamina for each point of the ultimate's cost. So you can kind of do the math for that. This costs 250 ultimate, and when you pop this, you're pretty much gaining a crap ton of health, stamina, and magicka. When you cast an Earth and Heart ability, you and your group members within 30 meters gain minor brutality for 20 seconds, increasing your weapon damage by 5%. If you're in combat, you also generate 3 ultimate. This can occur once every 6 seconds. So you're definitely going to want this one. That's why we have Igneous on our front bar. And we're going to be popping this. Well, basically what you can do is when you use Heroic Slash, you'll use Heroic Slash, Heavy Attack, do Igneous Shield, and that will put this on the same timer. That way you can see when this runs out. And I'll show you that a little later when we get to a little bit more into skills. But you definitely want to hit Igneous Shields every so often just so you kind of help buff the group. Putting it on your front bar is definitely better than putting it on your back, because your front bar, you're going to be on this bar probably 90% of the time, and just constantly hitting this every 6 seconds or so, definitely going to help out the damage. If you can do it. If you can't, just hit it every so often until you get used to tanking and whatnot. Helping Hands. When you cast an Earth and Heart ability, you restore 990 stamina. So again, this is your Earth and Heart ability, and that's why it's just so nice to have all these passives, because you can sit here and spam this and get a decent amount of stam back. What I do suggest, if you can, heavy attack and then hit Igneous, and then you'll get a boost of stam back. As far as two-handers go, you're not going to be using this as far as tanking goes, unless you're off tanking VHOF. I'll just quick go over it. If you're off tanking VHOF, You can definitely put Executioner on your back bar and just sit there and spam the crap out of this. Just make sure you have an Asylum two-hander on with probably Bloodspawn or something like that, and you'll like what I do on hard mode VHOF. I'll put this on and I get 3 Warhorns before the time runs out. The third one, it's as he's dying, I'm getting the third one. So sword and board. You'll get the first one because this is your taunt. It does a little bit of damage, but it's mainly because it's your taunt, and it reduces the physical and spell resistance of the enemy that you taunt. Heroic Slash, you're mainly using this one on Minor Maim and Minor Heroism. Minor Heroism grants you 1 ultimate every 1.5 seconds for 9 seconds. Just a nice little ultimate regeneration. Absorb Magicka. This is going to help you out a little bit in some of those intense situations where you have some spell projectiles like mages and stuff like that constantly hitting you, doing light attacks on you, shooting little orbs at you and shit. You can use this ability and it'll absorb that and heal you for an X amount. Also, while you have the shield equipped, this ability slotted, the amount of damage you can block is increased by 8%, and the cost of blocking is reduced by 8% as well. I don't really use this anymore, but when you first start out tanking, you could use this and it'll help you out a little bit. Shield charge. I don't ever use this skill anymore. If you're main tanking VHOF, you will probably use this skill. Mainly because they reduce the duration. So once you get knocked back by the last boss of VHOF, you have to shield charge him or else he'll jump in the air. And those of you guys that don't know what I'm talking about, just kind of ignore that. For those of you guys that are just starting out tanking and want to tank, that have been playing the game for a while, you know what I'm talking about. Power Bash. You'll probably never use this in PvE. Just a wasted skill slot. Reduce the stamina cost of your one hand and shield abilities by 10%. Reduce the cost of blocking by 36%. Yes, you will get that. Increase your weapon damage by 5% and the amount of damage you can block by 20%. Of course, you will get that. Improves your standard bash attacks. Bashing deals 100% additional damage and costs 40% less damage. You will be bashing sometimes, and that is really nice to have. Increase the amount of damage you can block from projectiles and ranged attacks by 15%. Obviously, that is really nice too when you taunt ranged adds and you can't chain them in or something like that. You know, it's nice to have that extra mitigation. Increase the movement speed while blocking by 60%. Sometimes you will be moving while holding block, and it is nice to kind of get like an extra bit of speed when you do that. Dual wield. No, you won't be using that. Only as a DPS. Bow. You could put a bow in your back bar, and if you have the Maelstrom one, and put in this hail, it'll help cleave the adds. It does quite a bit of damage if you use the VMA. This is more for advanced tanking and stuff like that. Or if you had like the Master Bow or something like that, throw on poison injection, something like that. But yeah. Destruction Staff, this is a majority of what tanks are using on their back bar, as you can see. Elemental Blockade, no, more than likely not. If you're running a dungeon, I mean, if you want to throw it on and whatever, feel like whatever, you can throw it on and do barely any damage. But no, you more than likely won't unlock that. Crushing Shock, you will unlock this. This does help out in Asylum +2, and it helps out in Cloud Rust +3 and stuff like that. You will probably use this quite a bit. Basically, what it does, it's like Deep Breath, except it's a single target ranged attack that interrupts anybody who's casting an ability, and it sets them off balance. It sucks that it only does it for 3 seconds, but whatever. It was a skill that majority of tanks will be running quite a bit.
It's called blockade. Basically, what you're gonna do, you slam your staff down. If you're using a lightning staff, it's gonna set the enemies off balance. That's why a lot of people use this skill. As far as destructive touch, probably not. Weakness to elements, you'll remorph this to alley drain. They ask you to run it, then you could run it if you want. You really shouldn't have to. Impulse, no. You won't use try focus, and the reason why, because you want to use stam when you're blocking. If you do swap the ice staff and all that stuff, but it's just gonna kind of damage, do 50% more damage done or whatnot. But anyways, the reason why I don't have this unlocked is because sometimes I do swap the ice staff. It's very rare that I do, and I would rather use stam to block than magicka to block. That's just my preference. But if you're not ever going to use ice staff, then you can definitely unlock this. Waste 2 skill points, put it in here, and then heavy attack on some ad pulls or whatever. Wouldn't suggest it, but whatever. Your destruction staff abilities, ignore 10% of the enemy spell resistance. Just nice to have just a little bit extra damage going up and stuff like that, but you know. And the reason why you're not really going to be heavy attacking is because you have a lot to do. As a tank, if you're over here, you're going to be constantly throwing down engulfing. You're constantly hitting in igneous, constantly taunting, constantly throwing down blockade. Blockade only lasts 8 seconds, engulfing lasts 10 seconds. This lasts 6 seconds. Well, it says 7.2, but every 6 seconds you're going to get stand back, and you're going to help buff your group with minor brutality. So I mean, you got a lot of stuff to do, and plus you're going to be positioning ads and stuff like that. So that's why you won't really heavy attack too much. In dungeons, it's going to be a little bit more relaxed, and sure, you can like get all the ads grouped up and then keep them in one spot with your talons, and then just heavy attack. Yeah, you could do that. Increase the chance to apply burning, concussion, and chilled status effect by 100%. So there's that. Obviously, concussion is off balance. Equip lightning staff increases your damage done. Area effect abilities by 8%. Yeah, whatever. You could or could not do that. Whatever. While you kill an enemy with the destruction staff ability, you restore 3,600 magicka. Sometimes that does happen where you do get lucky and you get the last tick on an ad. You know, it is what it is. Sometimes you just get lucky. Light armor. I don't wear light armor. I don't wear a monster set that has it. I do only wear what I do try and wear in a perfect world is 5 to 6 heavy and 1 medium. So you can level this up, but I wouldn't worry too much. You can get this to 50, but I wouldn't worry too much about it since you're not wearing a light piece. So. I mean, if you are, then you would put like the first 3 in. So you would increase your magic recovery by 2% by each piece. So you'd be like 4%. Reduce the magic cost of your abilities by 1% for piece of armor you have equipped. So you'd be at like 2% or whatever. Increase your spell resistance by 181 for each piece of light armor you're equipped. And since you're only going to have 1, you'll be at like 181. And then you can increase it to 2 points. This one would be 3, obviously. Medium armor. I do like wearing 1 medium, whether it's head or shoulders for my monster set. And the reason why you do a monster set and 1 in medium is for the... we'll get to it, but it's for the undaunted stuff. And mainly for once you have at least 1 each, or 1 medium piece, you could do it like this. Increase your weapon critical rating by 328 for each piece of medium armor. You would probably do this, and then it would help out with your vigor heals. And if you know a little bit about this, your weapon critical and weapon damage and your max stam affect how much you can heal off of vigor. So Windwalker, increase your stamina recovery by 4% for each. Oh my gosh. Increase your stamina recovery by 4% per piece of medium armor equipped. So basically you're going to get a little bit extra stamina recovery when you're not blocking. If you hold block the entire time, you will not gain stam back from any of these passives. The only time you gain back stam while holding block is when you hit Igneous Shield within your 6 seconds, or your Constitution, Passion, Passive, and Heavy Armor. Or if you activated an Orb or a Shard from a healer, you'll get stam back. As long as your stamina pool is higher than your magicka pool. And we'll get into that a little bit later. And also reduces the stamina cost of your abilities by 2% per piece of medium armor. So it's actually kind of nice. The only stam abilities you're going to really be using is Rogue Slash and Pierce Armor. And then if you have Vigor on, you'll be using Vigor. I do put Agility on, and the only reason why is because when I swap to Powerful Assault or anything like that, that's usually what my DPS set is. So that's why I have that unlocked. As far as Heavy Armor, you'll definitely get all of these because you are going to be wearing 5-piece Heavy. Increase your physical and spell resistance by 362 per piece of Heavy Armor equipped. Increase your health recovery by 4%. That's whatever. But here it is. You restore 108 magicka and stam when you take damage for each piece of Heavy Armor equipped. This effect can occur once every 4 seconds. And so my bonus is 649. That's how much I recovery, or that's how much I'll recover once every 4 seconds. Increase your max health by 2% for each piece of Heavy Armor equipped. So right now I'm at 12%. Increase the magicka and stamina. Your heavy attacks restore by 25%. So if you heavy attack with a sword, an axe, or anything like that, you're definitely gonna get stam back. If you attack with any type of staff, healing staff, flame staff, lightning staff, ice staff, you're gonna get magicka back. If you heavy attack with a bow, you're gonna get stam back. Increase your healing received by 8%. Obviously, that's pretty nice. Ledgerbane, not really so much. Any of these world ones like Dark Brotherhood and stuff like that, I don't really need all that. Soul Magic, I would consider getting this. It allows you to revive once every hour without spending a soul gem. It's just kind of nice if you do fall off a cliff or you die in a group or something like that after the ads are done, or if everybody wipes, it's nice to kind of use this and not use a soul gem. If you are a vampire, you could put on this one and use Invigorating Drain. Invigorating Drain, when you activate this ability with Invigorating Drain, you will gain 1 ultimate per second. I think it only lasts 3 seconds. So it is really nice to have that, but I don't really use it that much anymore. So it's just kind of like an honorary mention in like dungeons and stuff like that. Mistform, you could use this in certain trials. If you're off tanking Asylum, if you're whatever other trials, I mean that like Hoff on the 3rd boss, or excuse me, the 4th boss, the triplets, you could probably put this on. It helps mitigate damage, and then you would choose the one that makes you go faster. But if you are a vampire, you're definitely going to get this one. Increase your magic and stamina recovery by 10%. That's pretty nice. You don't really need this one. It's just to kind of bite somebody else for free. Reduce the damage taken by up to 33% based on your missing health while you're below 50% health. That's really nice to have. And then this one here reduces the health recovery from vampire stages 2 through 4. The last one is increased movement speed penalty while crouching. You're not going to be crouching. Decrease the time it takes to crouch. You're not going to be crouching. After feeding the target itself, balance for 2 seconds and stun for 5 seconds. This is just feeding to knock down your vampire stage from 4 and down. As far as Fighters Guild, Dawnbreaker, I have this for DPS, but you won't use this as a tank. You won't really use this as a tank either. If you are not a DK, You can morph this to Fierce Leash or some shit like that, which is a stamina morph. It is a stamina morph of this one right here. You can chain in adds. But do keep in mind that when you're using this to chain in adds, this one right here restores magicka. If you accidentally hit it, you're going to restore magicka. If you accidentally hit this one again and you try and pull in an ad, and you pull in the same ad, you try and pull in the same ad twice, you're going to waste 2,900 stamp every time you do it. So keep that in mind. You do not restore stam if you hit the same target. Turn in the undead. You'll definitely probably use this. Maybe Vet AA hard mode. Hoff. And some other ones. Maybe VMAL hard mode. Maybe VMAL non-hard mode. Shit like that. You're going to be using this sometimes. So you can unlock this, level it up. Basically what it does, it lanes a rune of protection for 24 seconds. You and your allies in the area gain minor protection, minor endurance, reducing the damage taken by 8%, and increases your stamina recovery by 10%. The extra bit to it is when you activate it on Deshaan, Dead, and Werewolf, they just kind of get feared for 4 seconds, so they'll just run away. But it's no big deal. I wouldn't really worry about that. It's mainly for the mitigation and the stam recovery. Expert Hunter, you won't really use this for tank. You won't actually ever use this as a tank. Rearming Trap, no, you won't use this as a tank, but you will use it as a DPS. Intimidating, you will use this one, just reduces the stamina cost of your fighter's guild ability by 15%. Slay increases your weapon damage by 3%. This is mainly for DPSing. This is mainly just to kind of like, maybe you'll get lucky if you generate 9 ultimate when you kill an undead Jade or a werewolf. Yeah, you'll get that. If you get lucky and you kill one as a tank, you'll get a little bit extra ultimate. Your fighter's guild ability does additional 20% damage to undead Jade and werewolves. You can unlock this if you're gonna DPS with this, with this person, but this is mainly for DPS. And the last one allows you to accept bounty quests from the Fighters Guild Cyrodiil. You won't be using that for PvE. As far as Mages Guild goes, Jesus. Meteor, won't be using that. Won't be using Inner Light. You won't be using Entropy, but I have seen some PvE tanks use this just to kind of get extra bit of health. Don't do it. Wasted slot. Fire Rune, no. Won't use that. Balance. If you do decide to use Balance, then you definitely are not going to be using Heart Spiked Armor. I would not use both, as they do the same thing. The only difference is Balance lasts longer, and it gives you a little bit extra magicka. So what happens when you use this? You sacrifice 5k health, 5,300 health, in exchange for 3,000 magicka. And once you activate the skill, you gain Major Resolve, Major Ward, lasts for 27 seconds. Now when you do hit this ability, for 4 seconds, you reduce your healing done and damage deal strength by 50%. If that doesn't last long, 4 seconds isn't that much. I do have this one because I do quest sometimes on this. That's the only reason why I have this. Reduce your magic and health cost of your Mage Guild ability by 15%. Yes, this does help out with balance. Increase your duration of Mage's Guild abilities by 20 seconds, or 20%, excuse me. Yes, this helps out with balance. Increase your max magicka and magicka recovery by 2% for each Mage's Guild ability slotted. Yes, this does help out. But when I am on my back bar, I do have more magic recovery because of this. And you won't really use this passive. You don't have to put any points in here. I just had it in here. I was testing some stuff out. So, no, you don't really need that. Psijic Order skill line. You could use this. I really wouldn't suggest it. Basically, when you get this leveled up and you morph it, the very bottom part is what you're looking at. While slotted, you gain minor protection, reducing damage taken by 8%. Yeah, you won't really use that. Time stop. You could use this as a tank. I really wouldn't suggest it, but it's totally up to you and what your preference is. Basically, what it does, puts an orb, a half circle around a target location, and then it freezes everybody inside of it for about 3 seconds. You wouldn't use this as a tank at all. You won't use this as a tank. Won't use that as a tank. Deep Thoughts. This is a morphed version of Meditate. Basically, what this does, you activate this ability, and you hover in the air, and you can't hold block or anything like that while you do it. If you do use this and then hold block, obviously you'll go into the block. So let me just show you. So when you use this ability, this is what it looks like, and you're just sitting there getting health recovery, your magicka back, and your stamina back, and if you hold block, you'll just go into that form. Right. So as far as that goes, I have used it in some trials, but I'm not that big of a fan of it anymore because it takes up a slot for almost no reason. You use this while you're running around, and you use this ability, you'll stop and float in the air. I mean, it is really cool. You can do this in dungeons all day long and not really take too much damage, so it is kind of nice. What the passives you would get if you do use Deep Thoughts would probably be about all of them. This one you get anyways, and you just can't unlock it anyways. Reduces the cost of your Psijic Order abilities by 15%. Yes, you will get this one. When you cast a Psijic Order ability while in combat, blah, 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 it just basically does damage. You will not really use this as a tank. I have a Psijic Order ability slotted and blocking. You gain a damage shield that absorbs 5,000 damage. If you have a Psijic Order skill line on whatever bar it is, if you have Meditate on your front bar and you hold block, or if you have Temporal Guard on your ultimate front bar, you hold block, you'll definitely get that 5,000 shield. Again, keep in mind, the damage shield recharges back every 10 seconds. So you hold block, it gets destroyed, you cannot block for like 10 seconds. While you're casting or channeling a Psijic Order ability, you gain major protection, reducing your damage taken. So, what you could do, if you wanted to be that way, you could throw this on your ultimate bar, and let's say you put this on number 3. When you activated this, and you had that ultimate there, you would gain minor and major protection. So in dungeons, it would be kind of cool to mess. It's fun to mess around with, but not really too optimized, really. Thieves Guild, nobody really cares. Undaunted. Altar. Blood Altar. It's mainly what everybody calls it. Basically what this does, you have a cast time when you cast this, we'll keep that in mind. I think it's like almost, well, it's 1.5 seconds. There it is. So it's 1.5 seconds as long as it takes to cast it. So it does take a little bit to do, but when you do have it sit down, you don't have to pick it up for another 46 seconds. The other morph just increases your healing, receives and all that stuff. This one just lasts longer. So it's totally preference. Depending on what trial you're doing, you'd probably choose the other one. Anyways, basically what happens, somebody activates the synergy, and you're going to heal for 48% of max health. This does apply minor lifesteal, so when you do have this active, it's 28-meter radius, and basically what happens, you have this down, the AoE doesn't show up for some reason. I don't know why, Zosh just hasn't fixed it, or just doesn't care to, whatever. But it applies minor lifesteal to any enemy in the area, healing you and your allies for 720 health every 1 second when they're damaging them. So this works really well in Sanctum, Maw, like pretty much every trial. It's really nice to have. Trapping Weds, no, you will not use that. Enrage, yes, you will. This is your range taunt. You'll probably use it on your back bar. It has two more. So one of them is stamina and one of them is magicka. I choose the magicka one and put it on my back bar with my other magic abilities. Bone shield. Yes, sometimes. I don't ever use it as a main tank, and only some off tanks use them. It is nice to activate that synergy with Harmony Jewelry because you'll get a huge shield, but I wouldn't really worry too much about unlocking it. You could unlock it, get it to where it morphs, and then just kind of whatever. Energy orbs. I have this unlocked for trials and stuff like that. There are times that I do use this. It's mainly to help out the group, just to kind of give them, like, when I heal somebody, I gain ultimate, a little bit of ultimate. So you gain a little bit of ultimate when you heal, but it's mainly for when they activate that synergy for the energy orbs. They're gonna get so much stamina magicka back, and you can use this one. I would use the energy orb because it is gonna heal for a little bit, and heals do crit. So it may say like 400, 500 heals. Sometimes they do crit up to like 2 or 3k or so. You will get the Undaunted passives, that's what these are. Activate an ally synergy. Restores 4% of your max health, stamina, and magicka. Current bonus is 1414, 76, and 416. Undaunted Metal. This is the one that every DPS and all tanks and everybody has. Basically, what it does is increases your max stats, so your health, stamina, and magicka by 2% per type of heavy, per type of armor you have equipped. So like heavy, medium, and light. So if you have heavy and medium, that's 4%. If you have heavy, medium, and light, that's 6%. If you just have heavy, it's only 2% that you're gonna get that buff from. So that's why you'll see a lot of magicka characters run 1 heavy, 1 medium, and then 5 light, just so they can get that 6% bonus. Assault. You'll definitely get aggressive warhorn. This is like your number one ulti that you should get, like starting out when you get level 10, going to BGs, go in there for I think you have to get 177k AP, and it doesn't really take that long to get. So you get this ability. Basically what this does, increases your max stat and your allies max stat, so that's max magicka, max stam, and max health by 10%. And then basically what it does is what you're looking at, why you're gonna be having it and activating it is it grants your allies and yourself major force, increases their critical damage by 15% for 9.5 seconds. That's mainly why you're always gonna have tanks and healers running this, just to kind of give you that extra bit of damage, that boosts the damage. Rapids is what we call rapids. You will be using this sometimes at Hell Raw, when you're going for speed runs or just running around in general. It is kind of nice to have this. Basically what this does is it gives you major expedition, major gallop, increases your riding speed and your movement speed by 30%. And it lasts up 33 seconds, so it's a good amount of time. Echoing Vigor as a tank, I would either suggest this one or the Resolving Vigor, either one. Just make sure you morph it. Basically, this one has a bigger radius that you can hit people with. Excuse me. So this one has a bigger radius you can hit people with, and the other morph heals you for more. Caltrops, you won't use that, and then Magic Detonate, you won't really use that. These are for DPS. No passives here because they only really work in Cyrodiil. Barrier, you could put this on your front bar to get that extra bit of magic recovery. If you if you use the Magicka aid. I was trying to see what rank it. Oh, there it is. Next rank is level 9. So once you hit level 9, you can put 2 points in here, and then if you have it equipped, you're gonna increase your magic recovery by that much. But that'd be the only reason you would put it on your bar. You could put it on your bar as far as like dungeons and stuff, and just kind of activate it to kind of help save the group. Siege Shield won't really use that. Efficient Purge, you will use this in quite a bit of dungeons, or excuse me, quite a bit of trials, just to kind of help purge yourself. So like in an asylum, you could hit this one because it has like a burning effect, and you can use this. It helps out the team if you activate it. Then it'll cleanse them and whatnot. Guard, you will use probably Stalwart Guard quite a bit in certain trials. You'll guard a DPS in dungeons sometimes if you want to mess around, just to kind of increase their damage. They gain minor force, increasing their critical damage done. And it's a 15-meter radius for the guard. And when it looks just a straight line that goes from you to your ally. Revealing Flare, absolutely useless in PvE. And the only passive you would get would be Magicka 8. Just increase your magic recovery by 5% for each support ability slotted. As far as your racial passive, the best tanks that I feel, or the best races to be a tank, I would say if you want big pull, your big pull for Magicka, Stam, health, stuff like that, definitely go Imperial. If you don't care about race, choose whatever and then throw your points in. As far as like sustain wise and just easier to tank in, Argonian is going to be 10 times just better than everything else as far as sustaining wise goes. And the reason why is right here it is. When you drink a potion, you restore 4,000 health, magic, and stam. You drink a health pot, you're going to restore 4,000 into stam and 4,000 into magicka. That's why I like Argonians, and we can just go down them right quick. Increase your experience gain with the Restoration Staff skill line by 15%. Increase your swimming speed by 50%. Swimming speed is the bee's knees. That's awesome. Increase your max magicka by 3%. That's actually really nice. So both of these are actually pretty good. Well, the swim speed's actually nice, but you don't really need it, I guess. Resourceful. You will definitely get this. Yes. Increase your max health by 9%. That's actually really good. Increase poison and disease resistance by 1485. That's alright. Gain immunity to poison and disease status effects. That's not bad. Increase your healing done and healing received by 5%. That's actually not a bad boost. Every single one of these passives are really good for tanking, or at least the ones that you can put 3 points into. As far as crafting goes, alchemy, medicinal use, hands down, get it. Just fucking get it. Like, this is good. When you use a potion, resulting effects last 30% longer. As far as everything else, there's nothing really here in passive world and passives world that you really need. Let's go into our character right quick. As far as Moonstone goes, I chose the lady because I started toying with other stuff in dungeons and whatnot. But for the most part, I'm going to be choosing the one that gives you max health. So you could definitely choose that one or the lady, whichever one. Now, here's what I'm going to suggest. When setting up your character and your tank, when you first set them up, you throw on the gear, you're like, alright, this is the gear I'm going to be running for a while. Or this is the gear I'm going to be running in this trial or this dungeon. Or if you just want to run dungeons and stuff like that, find a common ground for your pool. I'm going to say pool quite a bit. So find a common ground for your pool. And here's what I mean. When I eat my food, I'm sitting at 35k health just because I feel comfortable there, and I'm at 23k stam, almost 24k stam. All right, I'm at 14k magicka. That's more than enough. I'm at 8k recovery, 800 recovery. Don't really care too much about this, not really, but my physical and spell resistance is still fine. I'm at 25k, almost 26k spell resistance, 24k physical resistance, and if I go ahead and buff up right quick, come back, I'm at 31k spell, 30k physical. When my blood spawn, if I have blood spawn procs, it gives me a 6k boost. I'm sitting at 37, 38, and 36k physical and spell resistance. That's if I had like blood spawn on and stuff like that. So what you're gonna do to set up your tank, you're gonna apply your monster set. You're gonna apply the gear that you're gonna be running, apply your jewelry, apply your sword and board, and you're going to be on your sword and board bar, because your sword and board bar you're going to be on it the most anyway, so you might as well see what your stats are on that bar. You're only going to be coming to your back bar to either buff or debuff the adds and or group. So here's what you're going to do. Once you apply all this stuff, you're going to eat your food. You will use, well, what I like to use is tri-stat food that increases my health, magicka, and stam all in one. So that's why I like using tri-stat. So what you're going to do after you get that set up, you're going to eat your food. Then you're going to go and you're going to set up your attribute points. And then you're going to start tweaking it. You're going to start clicking that arrow button or adding points to health, and you're going to get your health to where you see fit. And then you're going to put the rest more than likely into stam. And the reason why is because when you activate a synergy like orbs or shards, which restore the highest pull. So if you have higher magicka than stam, you will get stam back instead of magicka. If you have more stam than magicka, obviously vice versa. And if you don't believe me, I really don't care. I'm going to go to it anyways. As you can see, an ally near the globe can activate the healing combustion synergy, causing the orb to explode and heal for X amount of health to a friendly target, and restore X amount of magicka, well, 3960 magicka or stam to the ally, whichever maximum is higher. So as a tank, you're always going to want stamina higher than your magicka, because you want to be able to hold block longer and more than, be able to cast abilities. And if you use balance, that helps you out as far as like magicka. That's what I suggest on how to get your pool set up the way you want it. Alright, so we just went over, so we went on what gear you should run, what gear I suggest you should run, what enchants to run, wait, did I go over enchants for armor? Well, enchants for armor, if you're Argonian, you're more than likely might have to do health on everything, to be honest. And then you could probably get away with doing like 1 or 2 stam. But for the most part, you're more than likely going to have to do health. Just because we don't get that much health as an Argonian. Imperials get a crap ton of health and stamina, so they can mix and match. And that's why a lot of people like Imperials. The Imperial class. So my bad if I did not go over that. So let's see. We talked about our gear. We talked about our enchants. We talked about our traits. We talked about our jewelry, traits, and enchants. We talked about our weapons. We talked about the skills and the passives. We talked about monster sets. Let's go ahead and go into CP. Alright, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to go over each individual one and what I consider to be decent for first starting out tanking. Now to min-max and optimize your tank per trial, that would be in this tree. in these 3 trees, but we'll get there. As far as now, we're going to look at these. I do have, again, if you are lower CP, if you're starting out, if you're 160 CP, if you're 200, 300, 400, 500 CP, something like that, I do have build videos for those going over the CP and stuff like that. So definitely check that out. This goes for as far as like 780s. So here's what I'm gonna do some honorary mentions as far as then we're gonna talk about each individual one that you could put points into. So we'll start here, siphoning. When you deal damage with light and heavy attacks, you decrease the enemy's health, magic, and stamina resource, restore, and recovery by X amount of percent for 3 seconds. No, not for PvE. Warlord, reduce the cost of break free by X amount of percent. Yes. You could put some points into here and be fine. The reason why is because a lot of times you will get CC'd, and when you break free, it is nice to have that reduced cost in your stamina. Sprinter. Sure, you could put some points in here if you're constantly running during trials and stuff like that. It's going to reduce your sprint by X amounts. That's not bad, but I'm not really sprinting too much anymore, so I don't really put it in here during dungeons. Bashing. Bashing focus reduces the cost of your bash by X amount of percent. You could, but I mean, how often are you truly bashing? As far as like new players go, you're not really bashing too much, honestly. If you are interrupting an ad, it's usually you're using deep breath because there's numerous ads around you, or you're using crushing shock, or you're just gonna bash them once every 30 seconds or so. So it shouldn't really matter for you to increase that. We are gonna look at the passives as well. For 10 points into this tree, which would be 10 points into here. You would get ensnare. When you bash, you have a 33% chance to reduce enemy's movement speed by 20% for 3 seconds. I mean, that's okay. It's not bad. It's not bad, but 90% of the time, you're not going to be moving with ads, or you shouldn't be moving with ads. You shouldn't. Well, I mean, ads to stack them together, you could be moving them, yeah. But as far as like boss fights and stuff like that, you're honestly going to be standing in one spot with them unless the boss moves and jumps somewhere else. Then you can run to the boss, whatever. But honestly, you're not going to be moving with the boss, so this one's kind of like, it's whatever. Increase your crafting inspiration gained by 20%. Well, I mean, that's if you have 30 points. 75 points. When you die, you heal an ally within 8 meters of you for 3960 health. I mean, don't die. We should be fine. Excuse me. War mount. It improves your mastery with mounts, removing all stamina costs outside of combat. Mooncalf. Increase your stamina recovery by 0%. Or excuse me, by X amount percent. As far as tanking goes, you're going to be holding block periodically. So this is kind of useless for you as a tank. Arcanist. Increase your magic recovery by X amount of percent. This is actually pretty nice because there are quite a bit of magic ability skills that you will be using. And so it is nice to get that little bit extra recovery from your CP. Healthy. Increase your health recovery by X amount of percent. Doesn't really matter in PvE. You don't really need a bunch of health recovery. Pointless. Pointless here. Tenacity. Increase the magicka and stamina your fully charged heavy attacks restore. Now basically what this means is if you heavy attack with a staff, flame staff, lightning staff, ice staff, resto staff, you'll get magicka back, and it's going to give you 13% more magicka if you have it set up like mine. If you heavy attack with a bow, a two-hander, like a two-handed sword, two-handed maul, two-handed axe, dual wields, or bow, or anything like that, you're going to get stamina back, and you're going to get X amount of stamina back with CP. And that's just obviously a skill. So 10 points in here. You're going to get Harvest, which is you have a 10% chance to gain double the yield from normal resource nodes. 30 points here in the synergy. This is really nice. If anything, you want at least 30 points here for this. When you activate a synergy ability, you generate 2 ultimate. Master Gatherer just reduces the time that you gather items by 50%. And then this one right here, when running, increase your movement speed, mounted speed by 2%, increasing the health and magic recovery by 10% while sprinting. So this one right here is actually not that bad as far as like if you're running and stuff like that. So, okay, so anyways, what we're going to talk about, what we're going to look at now, because I totally forgot to do this for the tower, is under the Thief's Influence, the tower raises your stamina and makes you more efficient with spell and abilities. So, basically, those are points in the Thief, they'll gain some stam. And since we already just went over this one, the Lover. Under the Thief's Influence, the Lover gives you stamina and accelerates your regeneration. So Shadow, under the Thief's Influence, the Shadow grants you stamina and helps you loot your enemies. So Befoul, you're not gonna really put any into here for PvE because it's just kind of pointless. Tumbling, you will put points into here. There are some times that you do dodge roll, so basically it reduces the cost of your dodge roll. So when you do dodge some attacks like that, it does reduce your stamina. So it's nice to kind of mitigate some of that. Shadow Ward, reduce the cost of your block by X amount of percent. That's actually really nice as well, because for you newer tanks, if you're sitting there holding block, it's going to be kind of nice to kind of reduce that, how much stamina gets taken up. Shade, reduce the cost of sneak. Absolutely pointless in PvE as far as trials, tanking, and stuff like that. Increase the amount of gold you find treasure chests, safe boxes by 50%. This is with 10 points into this tree. 30 points, reduce the cost of repairing your armor by 10%. That is actually really useful. I love this. 75 points, treasure hunt, increase the quality of items you find in treasure chests. And then the last one, Shadow Strike. When you kill an enemy with a heavy attack, you become invisible for 2.5 seconds. This effect can occur once every 5 seconds. It's absolutely whatever. Under the Mage's Influence, the Apprentice increases your magicka and empowers your spells. Bless, increase your healing done by 15%, or X amount of percent. So it's going to increase your healing done. All healing done, doesn't really matter if it's magic or stam. Elfborn, increase your critical damage and critical healing with magicka abilities. So Green's Dragon Blood is a magicka ability. You pop it, it's going to help you out with health recovery. Or excuse me, with that crit heal. Well, if you're super low on health and you hit Green's Dragon Blood, it can crit heal you. Elemental Expert, increase your flame, frost, shock, and magicka damage done. You're not really going to be worrying about doing damage because you're a tank. And in this MMO, you don't do damage to gain aggro. Spell Erosion, increase your spell penetration. Yeah, you're not going to be using spell abilities here. So your passives. Vengeance, when you block 3 spells within 10 seconds of each other, your next magic ability used within 5 seconds will always be a critical strike. Now you can plan this out with Elfborn and Green's Dragon Blood. Well, not really so much Elfborn, but with Green's Dragon Blood, if you do have quite a bit of mages shooting you with spell projectiles, you block 3 of them, then hit that Green's Dragon Blood, you'll get that crit heal on it. And it's really nice when Green's Dragon Blood crits because you can get up to 30 plus K crit heals. Spell Erosion, increase your spell critical by 12%. Yeah, this one's whatever for tanks. When you drink a potion, the cost of your next magic ability used within 7 seconds is reduced by 80%. Now, of course, you being an Argonian, if you take a tri-step pot, it really doesn't matter. Whatever. But it is nice, say if you accidentally took a stand pot and you needed to take a tri-step pot for your health, you hit a stand pot and then within 7 seconds you hit Green's Dragon Blood, it's going to cost less and it's still going to heal you a pretty good amount. When you kill an enemy, you have a 20% chance to restore 1488 magicka for up to 3 friendly targets within 2.5 meters. It is nice to kind of have this unlocked, but then again, how often do you kill things as a tank? And a trial in a dungeon. Yeah, you get lucky sometimes, or your last hit won't kill an enemy, but you know, whatever. This one right here, we'll go over this one anyways, even though we don't have anything, but we will do a mention on Tactician. So, Shattering Blows increase the damage done to enemies with a damage shield at 0%. You're not doing any damage, so whatever. Master Arms increase your damage done with direct damage abilities. Again, you're not doing damage. Physical Weapon Expert increase the damage done with light heavy attacks with two-handed, one-handed, and dual wields and bow weapons. Yeah, again, you're not really doing too much damage. You are light and heavy attacking, but you know, we'll talk about that in a second. Staff Expert increase the damage. Your damage done with light and heavy attacks from destruction and restoration staffs. Yeah, you are using a destruction staff on your back bar if you are doing that, and yeah, to get some light heavy attacks done there. I mean, it's not bad, but again, you're not doing damage. Your sole build is to tank and mitigate damage for your group. So again, you put points in here. You got 10. When you block a heavy attack, your next light attack used within 7 seconds deals 30% additional damage. And that, yeah, anyways, when you block a melee attack, you have a 15% chance to deal 3,000 physical damage to the enemy. This effect can occur once every 5 seconds. Butcher, increase your damage done with light heavy attacks by 5% to enemies below 5% or 25% health. Tactician, this is what we're going to talk about. When you use roll dodge to dodge an attack, you set the enemy off balance. Now, what you could do, you could throw some points into some physical expert, shadow, and you could throw some points into here to get 120. But it's total. That's my dog. If you heard my dog just then, she just came up here to try to lick me. Anyways, you could throw some points in here to get technician, but most of the time, I mean, it's totally preference on that point if you wanna toy with that or not. So I don't know if I read this, but under the mage's influence, the atronach boosts your magicka and trains your skill at arms. So we'll go over this one. Thaumaturge increase the damage done with damage over time effects. So that's obviously dots. People will say, "Hey, what do you have your dots down?" Stuff like that. Damage over time. That's what that means. Dots. Not thoughts, dots, DOTs. Increase your critical damage and critical healing with stamina ability. So this is like your vigor right here. Rally, vigor, stuff like that. Anything that has a stamina heal, this right here will buff that. Piercing, increase your physical penetration. Mighty, increase your physical, poison, disease, damage. Done. So we'll go over these right quick. So 10 points here. When you interrupt an enemy, your next physical damage ability used within 7 seconds deals 15% more damage. Increase your weapon critical by 12%. Exploder, increase the damage done against off-balance enemies by 10%. Last man standing. When you fall below 20% health, you gain major heroism, which there's only one other time you get to use major heroism, is if you're a warden and you use shimmering shields. Anyways, when you fall below 20% health, you gain major heroism, which is nice, granting 3 ultimate every 1.5 seconds for 8 seconds. This effect can occur once every 20 seconds. So this is a nice little passive, but you're not going to be really worried about it too much. You're not going to have 120 points in here. Under the mage's influence, ritual grants you magicka and makes your attacks more precise. Alright, so the next one is, we'll start here. Medium armor focus, increase your physical resistance by X amount while wearing 5 or more pieces of medium armor. So if you're wearing a bunch of medium armor, if you're running at least 5 pieces of medium armor, you could throw some points in here and increase that physical resistance while you wear medium armor. Resistance, increased critical resistance, absolutely useless in PvE. Increase your spell resistance. You can throw some points in here for certain trials like Cloud Rest. Cloud Rest does nothing but spell damage, so it is nice to throw some points in here for that. Ironclad reduces the damage taken against direct damage attacks by 23%. This is actually pretty nice. Throw some points in here. 72, 60 points, 80, something like that. Just 72 is a decent amount to throw into as far as thinking goes. Now, first 10 is going to be when you bash, you have a 20% chance to heal for 2,000 health. That's actually kind of nice. 30 points here when you use roll dodge. Your physical and spell resistance increased by 660 for 3 seconds. That's whatever, 3 seconds, whatever. When you take critical damage, you heal for 420 health. That's if you have 75 points in here. Reinforce. When you activate block, you gain a damage shield. It absorbs 1,254 damage for 3 seconds. For this can occur once every 10 seconds. So that's only if you have 120 points in here. Under the warrior's influence, the steed boosts your health and shields you from magicka. Or shields you from damage. I don't know why I said magicka. Alright, so thick skin. Reduce the damage taken from damage over time effects by X amount. So obviously this is for dots. There's a lot of ads and stuff like that do dot damage to you. So throwing points in the here will definitely decrease that. Elemental Defender reduces damage taken from flame, frost, shock, and magic damage by X amount. So this is the Elemental Defender. It's basically going to help you with spell damage. It's going to help mitigate some of that damage that the spell projectiles do to you. Hardy is obviously physical damage, poison, disease, stuff like that. Reduces that damage. That's what Hardy is. Light armor focus is if you're wearing 5-piece light armor. This right here, throwing some points in here will increase your physical resistance by so much. So that's usually if you're wearing light armor, mainly for healers that use that light armor if they do that. Oops. Now, as far as your passive go, when you take flame, frost, shock, magic, or oblivion damage equal 30% of your max health, you restore 3,000 magicka. Its effect can occur once every 10 seconds. Now, in Cloud Rest, better than Cloud Rest, whatever. Sometimes when Zamaja does his heavy attack on you with that big orb, and if you don't know, you can watch my videos on it. But basically, he does that, and then you'll watch as my magicka shoots back up. Sometimes I'm at like 5% magicka. I get hit with that orb, and then bam, I get like a boost to magicka. This is where this comes from. And he only does that, and he does it once every past 10 seconds. So you're obviously going to be getting it quite a bit. Every time, as long as you have points in the here, you'll definitely get that 3,000 magicka to proc. And if I remember right, Green's Dragon Blood only costs 4,000. And so if you're sitting at like 5k stam or magic or something like that, you'll definitely get that boost. Alright, so let's go back in here. Bulwark, while you have a shield or frost staff equipped, your spell and physical resistance increase by 1,500. So if you do use a staff on your back bar and you use a staff, you'll still get an extra 1,500 physical and spell resistance. When you deal direct critical damage, you heal for 396 health. This effect can occur once every 5 seconds. And then in chain, when you break free, the cost of your next Ebon ability used within 5 seconds is reduced by 80%. So that's kind of nice. Under the influence, whereas the influence lady gives you health, protects you from negative effects. Bastion. Now, Bastion does help with any shields or stuff like that. Well, let's just go over it. Increase the effectiveness of your damage shields by X amount of percent. This is like Harness Magicka, Hardened Ward, I believe Bone Shielded Igneous is under this as well. Quick recovery, increase the healing received by X amount. This is going to just kind of give you that extra bit of healing. So if somebody's trying to heal you, you'll be taking more heals from this than if you didn't have any in there. Heavy armor focus. Well, as long as you're wearing 5-piece heavy, you can increase this and help out your physical resistance. Expert defender reduces the damage taken from players. From player light and heavy attacks. Obviously, I'm sure this is like PvP stuff, not so much PvE. Alright, so 10 points in here. While you are resurrecting another player, your damage taken is reduced by 15%. So that's actually really good and really nice. 30 points here. When you resurrect another player, you increase their magic recovery by 297 for 8 seconds. That's also really nice. If you resurrect a Magicka character or something like that, it's nice that they get that extra bit of magic recovery for a little bit. Kind of help them get back on their feet. When you are resurrecting another player, you get a damage shield that absorbs 10,000 damage for 5 seconds. That's whatever. When you drink a potion, you get a damage shield that absorbs 1287 damage for 15 seconds. I have thought about putting some points in here just to kind of try this out, but honestly, 1287 is not worth putting 120 points in here. Maybe putting 75 in here might be worth it, but not really. So under the warrior's influence, the Thord grants you health and improves your vitality. Now, keep in mind that as a tank, you won't res too much, but in dungeons you can, or you will be. So you could probably take some points out of everywhere and kind of put 75 points in here if you feel like it. So here's a question I get asked quite a bit. Why do you have a stamina, quote-unquote, tank when most of your abilities are Magicka? Well, it's simply this. When you are blocking, bashing, running, all using your taunt, majority of the time you're using stam. 90% of that stuff, well actually 100% of that stuff you're using stam. When you're taunting, obviously you can do inner range, but the reason why you're constantly hitting pierce armor about every 9 to 12 seconds is because of the major breach and the major fracture that costs stam. Heroic sash that costs stam. When you block now, you don't recover. You don't stam recovery is nothing when you're holding block, and most of the time you are holding block, especially for new tanks and stuff like that. You're gonna want more stam, obviously, than Magicka, because if you have low stam and you have high Magicka, when you go to grab an orb or a shard, you're going to restore Magicka instead of stam. And the only way to gain stam back is do a heavy attack or igneous shields or pop a stam pot. About 90% of tanks out there, they're not going to have your speed pots on there. So you're not gonna have 3 sets of, or excuse me, you're not gonna have enchants on all 3 of your pieces of jewelry. It's gonna reduce your time in reduce your speed pot time. So it's 45 seconds, excuse me. Minus 24 is like 21 seconds. So your pot could be 21 seconds, but then you lose out on your bashing and all that stuff, so your stam, and then you lose out on your so you're gonna lose out on your magic recovery. You're gonna use out on your reduced stam. So I mean, if you're tanking a lot of adds and you're tanking a lot of this and that, you're gonna be losing out on more stam than you can get back with just popping pots. So that's why you're gonna have more stam than you will in Magicka. A lot of tanks like to pump up their magic recovery, so it's easier to get Magicka back. That's why I like using balance, because of that. Because I just know that I'm gonna get 3k Magicka almost instantly, and I can just hit this like 2 or 3 times and be good to go. I hit it 3 times, I lose 15k health. But with a healer on me, I'm really only losing about maybe 10k health, if that. You really got to pay attention to that. That you're gonna want to put more into stamina and health than magicka. You don't want to really put any enchants or any attribute points into magicka, mainly because you're gonna want your health at a certain level and your stamina at a certain level. Comfortable for most people is probably going to be anywhere from 35k to 40k, and then stam anywhere from 20k upwards to 25k. As far as magic recovery, what I suggest people to do is on your weapon jewelry, I suggest you go at least 1 or 2 into magic recovery, or maybe just 1 infused magic recovery, and then go to shield play, or go to magic recovery and then 1 shield play. And of course, shield play is to reduce the bash and the cost of block by so much. Once you start getting more and more comfortable tanking and stuff like that, know when to block and when not to block, stuff like that, then you can kind of mix it up and kind of test out your own theories with your own stuff and kind of what you want to try. Keep in mind that when you are tanking and learning to tank, you really need to pay attention to every mechanic, because what makes a good tank is knowing the mechanics before they happen. And I know you're like, well, what the hell? And like, we have raid notifier and stuff like that. Yeah, well, us on console, I came from console, we didn't have all that stuff, so you had to watch the mechanics. Stop looking at raid notifier and all that other crap. Pay attention to the boss's mechanic, the ads mechanics, and I promise you that will make you a better tank than sitting there reading some add-on above on your screen. Pay attention to the mechanics, how they work, when they happen, get a feel for it, and that way you're not so reliant on a text that pops up on your screen. Yeah, we have it sometimes where it pops up on our screen on Xbox and PS4, but we don't sit there and rely on it. Try not to rely on that crap. As long as you don't rely on that, you just rely on the mechanics that you see. It'll make you a better tank, a better player in the long run. So, that's about it. That's as far as the most basic guide I can do that really covers everything. And again, this is mainly for PvE tanking in like dungeons and trials and stuff like that. Hopefully this helps you out and is somewhat informative to you. In my next video that I'm going to be doing, and I've been working on for a while, is going to go over how to tank, as far as just how to gain aggro and how to position yourself in a way that isn't going to hurt your group or your players. So thanks again for watching and taking the time out of your day to watch this video. You have a good one, and we'll see you in the next video.